The message came on a quiet Tuesday morning. At first, the radio operators at Earth's deep space listening post thought it was just another burst of cosmic noise. But this signal was different. It repeated in perfect patterns, too precise to be natural. Captain James Walker stood before the United Earth Defense Council, his hands clasped behind his back. The signal had been playing on repeat for 3 days now, and the world's best code breakers had finally cracked its meaning. "It's a warning," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of his words, "and a plea for help." The council chamber fell silent. On the large screen behind him, strange symbols flashed, now accompanied by their English translation. "They are coming. The Dominion destroys all. We send our legacy. Please survive." The alien ship arrived 2 weeks later, barely holding together. It was small, no bigger than an old Earth cargo vessel, and its hull bore the scars of weapons far more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen. As it drifted into orbit, everyone expected the worst. Instead, they found survivors, the last members of a civilization that had once spanned 50 star systems. The aliens called themselves the Messengers. Only 6 of them remained alive, their bodies kept functioning by machines that seemed more advanced than anything in science fiction. Their leader, whom they translated as Guardian, spoke directly to the council through a hastily assembled translation device. "We watched them destroy everything," Guardian said, its voice carrying the weariness of someone who had seen too much. "The Dominion believes they are the only ones worthy of the stars. They hunt down any species that reaches for the heavens. We fought them. We lost." Walker stood at his post, watching as the alien ship's database was carefully downloaded into Earth's most secure computers. The messengers had brought more than just a warning. They had brought hope in the form of technology and knowledge. "Your species is different," Guardian told Walker during one of their many late-night conversations. "We have studied your history. You fight, yes, but you also unite. You destroy, but you rebuild. You fall, but you always rise again." The messengers worked tirelessly with Earth's scientists, sharing everything they knew about the Dominion. They explained how this ancient empire had ruled the galaxy for millennia, systematically wiping out any civilization they deemed unworthy of space travel. The Dominion believed themselves to be the first species to reach the stars, and in their arrogance, they had decided they should be the last. As weeks turned into months, humanity began to understand the true scale of the threat they faced. The Dominion's empire spanned thousands of star systems. Their ships could cross the galaxy in days. Their weapons could crack planets. But they had one weakness: their absolute conviction in their own superiority. "They will underestimate you," Guardian explained, as Earth's military leaders planned their defenses. "They have grown comfortable in their power. They do not adapt. They do not innovate. They simply destroy." Walker watched as humanity did what it had always done best: prepare for war while hoping for peace. Countries that had once pointed nuclear weapons at each other now worked together, combining their resources and knowledge. The Messenger's technology was studied, improved upon, and merged with human innovation. Then came the day Guardian's health finally failed. Before its death, it shared one last message with Walker. "We chose Earth for a reason. Your people, you humans, you have something we lost long ago: the ability to face impossible odds and still believe you can win. The Dominion thinks they know war, but they have never faced humanity." As Walker stood at Guardian's funeral, watching as the last of the messengers was laid to rest with full military honors, he knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, but their first aliens' friends had died warning them about their first alien enemies. The race was on. Earth had to prepare. The Dominion would come eventually, expecting to find another easy target. Instead, they would find humanity, armed with the Messenger's legacy and their own unbreakable spirit. The stars were waiting, and this time, humanity would be ready. 6 months after the Messenger's funeral, Earth had changed more than it had in the past 100 years. The old borders that had divided nations faded as humanity faced its greatest challenge, survival. Dr. Anna Miller stood in her lab at the Global Defense Center, staring at the holographic display that floated before her. She had spent countless nights studying the quantum computers the messengers had left behind. Other scientists had called the technology impossible to understand. Anna saw it differently. The messengers didn't just give us their technology, she told her team one morning. They gave us puzzles to solve. They wanted to see how we would think differently. And think differently they did. Where the messengers had built their quantum systems to be perfect and unchanging, Anna's team made them adaptable. They added human creativity to alien logic, creating something entirely new. Admiral Thomas Reed watched from the command center as the first of Earth's new defense satellites took orbit. The platforms looked nothing like traditional military satellites. They were ugly, practical things that combined Earth's best stealth technology with the messengers' advanced weaponry. Beauty isn't going to save us, Reed told his officers, but being clever might. The Admiral had studied every piece of information the messengers had shared about Dominion battle tactics. The enemy was powerful but predictable. They had fought the same way for thousands of years because no one had ever survived long enough to make them change. Around the world, military training changed completely. Soldiers learned to fight enemies who could appear from thin air. Pilots practiced against ships that could move faster than light. Every lesson from humanity's long history of warfare was examined and adapted for the coming storm. In the depths of the Himalayas, a new kind of factory took shape. Robots worked alongside humans, building ships that could sail between stars. But these weren't copies of the messengers' vessels. Earth's engineers had added their own ideas. Tricks and tactics learned from centuries of outsmarting stronger opponents. We're not trying to match the Dominion's strength, Anna explained to Admiral Reed during a project review. We're creating weapons they won't expect. Ships that think differently. Systems that adapt. The biggest surprise came from the messenger's medical database. Earth's doctors discovered that the Dominion had never faced a species with humanity's medical knowledge. While they had powerful weapons, their understanding of biology was simple. They had never needed to develop cures or vaccines because they simply destroyed any world where disease appeared. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, humanity built its first faster-than-light engine. It wasn't as powerful as the Dominion's drives, but it had one major advantage: it was quiet. The messenger's data showed that the Dominion's ships blazed across space like flares. Earth's ships would move like shadows. 2 years into the preparation, Admiral Reed called a meeting of Earth's combined military command. The room was filled with leaders from every nation, all now working together under humanity's new banner. The messengers thought we were special because we keep fighting, Reed said, standing before a map of known space. But that's not our real strength. We're special because we learn. We adapt. We take what we're given and make it better. He pointed to the distant stars where the Dominion's empire waited. They think they're coming to destroy another primitive species. Instead, they're going to find something they've never seen before, a humanity that's ready for them. Around Earth, the new defense grid hummed to life. In hidden bases, ships' crews trained for battles unlike anything in human history. And in labs across the planet, scientists like Anna Miller continued to push the boundaries of what was possible. The Dominion was coming, but they would find that humanity had used their time well. Earth wasn't just preparing for war, it was preparing to win. The Dominion found Earth exactly as Commander Mark Wilson had predicted, through humanity's own radio signals. Old television broadcasts, radio shows, and satellite communications had been traveling through space for decades. The enemy didn't even try to hide their approach. They want us to see them coming, Wilson told his bridge crew aboard the Earth ship Shadow. They think it will frighten us. The Dominion's cleansing fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system, 50 massive warships that shone like artificial stars. Their message was simple: surrender and die quickly, or resist and die slowly. They had sent the same message to 1,000 civilizations before. But Earth had been waiting. As the Dominion fleet moved past Neptune, they encountered their first surprise. The space around them was completely empty. No defense platforms, no ships, no signs of the technology that their scouts had detected. "Keep watching," Wilson whispered from his hidden command post. "Let them come closer." The Dominion ships moved with perfect formation, their arrogance clear in every move. They had destroyed so many civilizations that they no longer bothered with caution. That was their first mistake. As they passed Jupiter, Earth's trap began. Hundreds of tiny objects, previously hidden as space debris, suddenly activated. These were Anna Miller's newest creation, quantum disruptors disguised as ordinary space junk. They attached themselves to the Dominion ships' hulls, interfering with their advanced shields. The enemy didn't even notice. Their sensors were designed to detect powerful energy weapons, not the simple, clever devices humanity had created. They pressed on toward Mars, confident in their victory. All ships maintained silence. Wilson ordered through the quantum-encrypted comm system. Earth's defense fleet waited in the shadow of Mars, their engines cold, their systems quiet. They weren't trying to match the Dominion's power. They were hunting. The enemy's second mistake was assuming Earth would defend their homeworld directly. Instead, Wilson had studied ancient Earth naval tactics, specifically the art of submarine warfare. His ships were built to strike from hiding, not fight in open battle. When the Dominion fleet crossed the orbit of Mars, Wilson gave the signal. The quantum disruptors activated simultaneously, creating gaps in the enemy shields. At the same moment, Earth's ships powered up and launched their first attack. The missiles they fired weren't just weapons. They were delivery systems. Each one carried thousands of smaller projectiles, all built using technology the Dominion had never encountered. As their shields flickered, these projectiles struck their hulls. "Now we show them how humanity fights," Wilson said, watching as the enemy fleet suddenly found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see clearly. The Dominion ships tried to respond with their standard tactics, massive energy weapons designed to destroy planets. But Earth's fleet was too close, too mixed among their own ships. They couldn't fire without hitting themselves. "All ships, execute pattern Delta," Wilson commanded. His fleet moved like dancers in a deadly ballet, always staying just inside the Dominion's firing solutions. The enemy had never faced an opponent who would dare to fight at such close range. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 30 Dominion ships had been destroyed. The rest retreated in chaos, their perfect formation shattered. For the first time in their history, they had failed to destroy a target world. On Earth, people watched the sky with a mixture of fear and pride. The enemy had come, just as the messengers had warned. But humanity had done more than survive. They had won. In his command chair, Wilson received reports from his fleet. The cost had been high. 12 Earth ships destroyed. Thousands of brave crew members lost. But they had proven something important. The Dominion could be beaten. "Send word to command," Wilson ordered. "First contact successful. The enemy has been bloodied. And now they know. Earth is not like the others they've destroyed. We fight back." As the remains of the Dominion fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Wilson knew this was just the beginning. The enemy would return, stronger and more cautious. But humanity would be ready. They had shown the galaxy something it hadn't seen in thousands of years. News of humanity's victory spread through the galaxy like a silent wildfire. The Dominion tried to hide their defeat, but they couldn't stop the whispers. For the first time in thousands of years, someone had stood against them and won. Ambassador Diana White didn't expect the first alien visitor to appear in her garden. The creature looked like a tall, thin shadow, moving carefully in Earth's gravity. It had crossed half the galaxy in secret, risking death to deliver a simple message: "We want to join you." "How many others are there?" Diana asked during the secure meeting that followed. The answer shocked Earth's leaders. Hundreds of species had survived the Dominion's attacks, hiding in the spaces between stars. They had been watching, waiting, hoping for someone to prove the Empire wasn't invincible. Within months, Earth became a gathering point for the galaxy's survivors. Ships arrived in secret, using the quiet drive technology humanity had developed. Each brought new knowledge, new technologies, and new allies. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore," Diana told the Global Council. "We're fighting for everyone who's ever lost their home to the Dominion." The alliance was born in an underground base beneath the Antarctic ice. Representatives from 20 different species gathered to form what they called the Liberation Coalition. Each brought their own strengths. Some knew the Dominion's supply routes. Others had developed ways to hide entire planets from detection. But it was humanity's aggressive innovation that turned these scattered survivors into a real fighting force. Earth's engineers combined technologies that had never been used together before. What one species thought impossible, another found obvious. Human creativity tied it all together. "The Dominion keeps winning because they keep everyone separated," Diana explained to a group of alien leaders. "They don't understand how strong we can be together." The first joint operation proved her right. A human stealth ship, using cloaking technology from one ally and sensors from another, slipped into a Dominion supply base. Instead of attacking, they gathered intelligence. The Dominion never noticed they were there. More victories followed. The coalition freed slave camps, rescued scientists, and slowly built their strength. Each success brought new allies. Species that had been enemies under Dominion rule found common ground working with humans. "Your people are different," one alien leader told Diana. "You don't just fight. You inspire. You make us believe we can win." Not everything went smoothly. Different species had different needs, different ways of thinking. But humanity had centuries of experience dealing with cultural differences. They built translation systems, designed shared spaces that worked for everyone, and found ways to turn their differences into strengths. The Dominion's response was predictable. They sent bigger fleets, stronger weapons. But now humanity wasn't fighting alone. When Dominion ships appeared over Earth colonies, they found themselves facing weapons and tactics from a dozen different worlds. Diana spent her days meeting with new allies, building trust between species that had never worked together before. At night, she studied reports from across the galaxy. The coalition was growing stronger. The Dominion was facing resistance everywhere they went. "We're not just building an army," she told her staff. "We're building a future, one where no species has to fear being wiped out just for reaching the stars." The Dominion had ruled through fear and isolation. Humanity showed the galaxy a different way. Cooperation, innovation, and hope. Each day brought new allies, new technologies, new possibilities. As Diana watched ships from 20 different worlds training together in the space above Earth, she knew they had changed the galaxy forever. The Dominion's greatest fear had come true. They were no longer fighting scattered, frightened victims. They were facing a united galaxy, led by a species that refused to accept defeat. The real war was just beginning. But now, humanity wasn't fighting alone. They were leading an alliance that would reshape the stars. The Dominion's new weapon arrived in a cloud of purple mist. On 12 different worlds, the clouds descended from high orbit, carrying engineered diseases designed to wipe out all resistance. The enemy expected their biological weapons to end the war quickly. They didn't know about Dr. Robert Greene and his team of Earth scientists. Biological warfare. Robert laughed when he saw the first reports. "They're using germs against humans. We've been fighting diseases since before we invented the wheel." In his lab aboard the medical ship Hope, Robert studied the Dominion's weapons. The enemy had created diseases that could kill most species in days. But they had never encountered a species that had spent thousands of years building immunity to countless diseases. "They don't understand what Earth is," Robert told his team as they worked. "Our world has more diseases than their entire empire. We've survived them all. We've learned from each one." The Dominion watched in confusion as their weapon failed to kill humans. Instead of dying, The infected humans got sick, recovered, and grew stronger. Earth's immune systems, tested by millennia of evolution, adapted to fight the new threat. But Robert and his team didn't stop there. They took the Dominion's weapons and turned them into cures. Centuries of vaccine research gave humanity an advantage the enemy never expected. Within weeks, they had protected not just humans, but all their alien allies. The Dominion thinks disease is just a weapon, Robert explained to the Coalition Council. We know it's also a teacher. Every sickness we've faced has made us stronger. In their desperation, the Dominion launched more biological attacks. Each new weapon was met with the same response. Humanity adapted, survived, and grew stronger. The enemy couldn't understand how a primitive species could defeat their advanced bioengineering. The truth was simple. Earth itself had prepared humanity for this fight. Every virus, every bacteria, every plague in human history had taught them something. Where other species saw sickness as a weakness to be eliminated, humans had learned to use it as a strength. Send them our response, Robert told the Coalition fleet commanders. His team had created something new, a modified version of the common cold that could pass through Dominion shields. It wouldn't kill them, but it would make them very uncomfortable. The enemy's mighty warships were suddenly filled with sneezing, coughing soldiers. Their perfect formations broke as crews struggled with runny noses and sore throats. For the first time in their history, the Dominion faced an enemy they couldn't fight with weapons. But the biggest surprise came from studying the Dominion's biology. Robert's team discovered that the enemy had eliminated all diseases from their worlds thousands of years ago. In doing so, they had made themselves vulnerable. Their immune systems were weak, untested by real challenges. They thought they were making themselves perfect, Robert said, looking at the test results. Instead, they made themselves fragile. They forgot that strength comes from overcoming difficulties, not avoiding them. As news of the failed biological warfare spread, more alien species joined the Coalition. They had feared the Dominion's diseases, but humanity showed them there was nothing to fear. Earth's doctors shared their knowledge freely, teaching others how to build immunity instead of hiding from threats. In his lab, Robert prepared to release his latest creation, a modified probiotic that would help Coalition species develop stronger immune systems. The Dominion had tried to use humanity's biological nature against them. Instead, they had revealed one of Earth's greatest strengths. They wanted to prove we were weak, Robert told his team as they worked. But they forgot something important. Humans don't just survive challenges. We learn from them. We grow stronger. And now we're teaching others to do the same. The war had entered a new phase. The Dominion's biological weapons had failed, and humanity had shown the galaxy yet another reason why Earth was different. They weren't just fighting back. They were changing the rules of the fight itself. Admiral Thomas Reed stood on the bridge of Earth's newest warship, the Sword of Dawn, as the largest fleet in human history prepared for battle. 5,000 ships gathered in the dark space beyond Pluto, vessels from Earth, their alien allies, and dozens of freed worlds. Operation Dawn begins in 10 minutes, Reed announced to the combined fleet. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. And remember, the Dominion has never faced anything like us before. The plan was bold, maybe even crazy, but that was why Reed believed it would work. The Dominion had ruled space for so long they had forgotten how to face a real challenge. Their tactics hadn't changed in thousands of years. Humanity's plan had been in motion for months. Small teams had slipped behind enemy lines, gathering intelligence, placing quantum beacons, and preparing the way. The Coalition spies had mapped every Dominion fleet movement, every supply line, every weakness. First wave, begin jump sequence, Reed ordered. 1,000 ships vanished into faster-than-light travel, heading for their targets. But they weren't aiming for the Dominion's mighty warships. Instead, they struck at something the enemy had always taken for granted, their supply lines. The Dominion had built an empire so vast they couldn't defend everything at once. They had never needed to. until now. As Reed's forces struck simultaneously at 50 different supply bases, the enemy's perfect order began to crack. "Second wave, you have clearance," Reed commanded. Another 1,000 ships jumped, appearing inside Dominion territory. These weren't warships. They were rescue vessels, racing to free enslaved populations while the enemy's attention was divided. The Dominion's response was predictable. They sent their massive fleets to crush the attackers, just as they had done for thousands of years. But this time, their targets refused to stand and fight. Earth's ships and their allies used hit-and-run tactics, striking weak points and vanishing before the enemy could respond. "They still think this is about destroying ships," Reed told his bridge crew. "They don't understand that we're not trying to match their strength. We're breaking their empire piece by piece." The third wave brought the biggest surprise. As Dominion fleets chased coalition forces across space, they discovered their long-range communications were failing. Earth's engineers had found a way to disrupt the quantum networks the enemy relied on. For the first time in their history, the Dominion's perfect coordination fell apart. Without their central command, their giant fleets became confused, disorganized. They had forgotten how to think independently, how to adapt to unexpected situations. "All ships, execute final phase," Reed ordered. The last wave of coalition ships appeared, striking at the heart of Dominion space. The enemy's homeworlds had never been attacked before. Their defenses were strong but predictable. The battle raged for 3 days. The Dominion lost more ships in those 72 hours than they had in the previous 1,000 years. But the real victory wasn't in destroyed warships. It was in the worlds they freed, the slaves they rescued, and the empire they broke apart. "Send word to all coalition forces," Reed commanded as the last enemy fleet retreated. "Phase 1 is complete. 23 systems freed. 38 supply bases destroyed. And most importantly, the Dominion's myth of invincibility is broken. On thousands of worlds, people looked up at their skies with hope for the first time in generations. The Dominion wasn't invincible after all. They could be beaten, not by matching their strength, but by being smarter, more adaptable, more innovative." Reed watched as reports came in from across the battlefront. The cost had been high. Hundreds of coalition ships destroyed, thousands of brave crew lost. But they had achieved something incredible. They had punched a hole right through the heart of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. "The real war starts now," Reed told his crews. "The Dominion will come back harder, angrier. But now everyone knows they can be beaten. And that knowledge will spread faster than their fleets can travel." The counterattack had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes. But more importantly, it had shown the galaxy something new, a way to fight back, a way to win. The Dominion's home system was everything the ancient records had described. A collection of perfectly ordered worlds orbiting a golden sun. Massive space stations hung in precision formations. Countless warships patrolled in endless patterns. For 10,000 years, no enemy had ever reached this far. Until now. The combined fleet of the coalition dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the Dominion's defense grid. Leading them was the Sword of Dawn, now bearing the scars of 100 battles. On its bridge, Admiral Reed and Commander Wilson stood together, watching history unfold. "All ships report ready," Wilson said quietly. "The Dominion's rulers are demanding we surrender." Reed smiled. "Send them our response. The same words they've sent to so many others. Surrender is not an option." The final battle for the galaxy began with a move the Dominion never expected. Instead of attacking their mighty warships, the coalition fleet targeted the massive rings that controlled the enemy's automated defenses. Dr. Anna Miller's latest creation, a virus that turned the Dominion's own security systems against them. They built everything to be perfect. Anna's voice came through the command channel from her position in the engineering section. But perfect systems are predictable, and anything predictable can be hacked. The Dominion's rulers watched in horror as their own defense platforms began firing on their ships. For the first time in their history, they faced chaos in their home system. Their response was desperate. They launched their entire reserve fleet, 10,000 ships strong. All coalition forces, execute Operation Freedom, Reed commanded. The battle plan they had spent months preparing began. Every lesson learned, every tactic developed, every advantage gained, all of it came together in this moment. Earth ships darted between enemy vessels, using their superior maneuverability to break up the Dominion's formations. Alien allies who had once feared the enemy now struck boldly at their weak points. Former slaves turned warriors brought vengeance to their old masters. The Dominion's massive fleet found itself fighting enemies that refused to follow the rules of space combat. Coalition ships moved in seemingly random patterns, their crews combining techniques from 100 different species. Each time the enemy adjusted to one tactic, they faced 3 new ones. In the middle of the chaos, a small team led by Commander Wilson slipped through the broken defense grid. Their target was the Dominion's Central Command Station, the heart of an empire that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. "Remember," Wilson told his strike team, "we're not here for revenge. We're here to end this war and build something better." The fighting lasted for hours. The Dominion's rulers, faced with defeat for the first time, chose to destroy their own command center rather than surrender. But humanity had predicted this too. Dr. Robert Greene's medical ships were ready, saving thousands of enemy lives even as the battle raged. When the golden sun set on that historic day, the Dominion's empire had fallen. Their mighty fleets were scattered or surrendered. Their rulers were captured, not for execution, but to face justice from all the species they had tried to destroy. Admiral Reed stood in the ruins of the Dominion's throne room, addressing representatives from 1,000 worlds through the Coalition's communication network. "Today marks the end of an empire built on fear," he said. "But more importantly, it marks the beginning of something new, a galaxy where all species can reach for the stars without fear." The Coalition transformed into the Galactic Council, with Earth playing a central role not because of superior strength or technology, but because humanity had proven something unique. The ability to unite different species, to learn from everyone, to face challenges with innovation instead of brute force. As the first ships began the long process of helping rebuild worlds destroyed by the Dominion, Ambassador Diana White summed up humanity's journey to the stars. "We didn't win because we were stronger or more advanced. We won because we remembered something the Dominion forgot. Real strength comes from working together, from learning from our differences, and from never giving up hope." The age of the Dominion was over. The age of humanity, and the united galaxy they helped create, had begun.